Happy Monday, Mandy. How are we doing today? We have another exciting episode planned. What is new with you today?
Oh, Amani, what isn't new? There's so much exciting stuff. I just did a virtual group sales coaching class and it was super fun. It was about one of my favorite topics. It was about time is our greatest asset and how to
Yeah.
not be that stressed out salesperson and overwhelmed salesperson. And it's, none of it's rocket science, but it was just awesome because everybody contributed, everybody had a takeaway nugget, and it just fills my cup. I love those conversations. So
Okay.
I'm hot off the presses from that and feeling great. What about you? Your class is out of session right now. Are you just like hanging by the pool? What are you doing
Well,
right
I wish I could
now?
be hanging by the pool. No, just working on got some summer trips and gigs planned out, finished turning in grades. We had graduation. So that's kind of what I'm working on. I did watch this very, very good TV show that captured my mind and my heart. Have you heard of the show Normal People?
No.
I see. It's really good. I highly recommend it. It's really well done. So that was like a good 12 episode, 30-minute binge worthy type of time. So that was what took up some of my weekend. But that's all that I'm doing. I'm enjoying the break over the summer before I have to do my summer work. No classes, just regular work. That's what's up with
Mhm.
me.
Do you stay up late when you binge watch? Are you like, "Oh, crap, it's 3 in the morning." Like, is that what happens? How does that work for you?
So I try to not really that late. Like what I'll do is I'll watch some episodes like on the TV downstairs, and then I'll get ready for bed. And then if it's really good, I'll put it on my iPad and keep watching there on the iPad for one episode, and then go to bed. So I don't stay up till 3 o'clock yet. I haven't gotten to that point just yet.
It's for the best. Don't start. Do not start. You
Yes.
won't be able to stop.
Okay.
It's for the
All
best.
right. Deal. Deal.
Deal.
Now, who do we have joining us today? Someone very exciting.
Somebody very, very exciting. So, this man, he makes safety sexy. And I'm telling
Okay.
you, I grew up in a house where my dad was the man of safety. That was his whole job. But this guy will teach us a thing or two about safety in the workplace. He has gamified compliance. And I know you love gamification, Armani. He's
This is a
gamified
fact.
compliance for the hospitality industry. He started an accidental book club. He's a
Mm,
professional musician who actually wrote the introduction theme song to the show Shameless.
mm, mm,
And
mm.
he is the founder of an awesome company called AeroUp. We have Jason Berkowitz today.
All right, round of applause. We'll welcome in Jason right there. There we go. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, welcome.
I'll applaud myself for that introduction. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's a
Heck
great introduction.
yeah.
Yes.
I'll give it up to me.
Okay. We have to ask right off the bat, how did this trailer song, introductory song for Shameless, which is a big deal, how did that come to be?
So this was my college band that I went in and out of. Came out to California afterwards to actually became a fake stomper. And it was the case when Stomp was really big. And I was, I guess they liked that they had this Jewish kid with earrings and long dreadlocks who could hold a beat. Really, no other talents aside from that, but it worked enough. And really figured out how to be somewhat of a professional creator and musician. Then the old band was sending me some awesome songs from Brooklyn. And I was like, guys, it's time to take this up a level. So I moved back out to Brooklyn in the early aughts, and we built up for a while this band and toured. I left, came back out to LA because I was actually itching to get back into the restaurant business. And they had this half piece song together. And it was almost like this slow melody. And if anyone knows it, it's from the song, but think of all the luck you've got. And it was a slow little melody. I said, you guys are killing me. This thing is a rocker. Give me the guitar, give me this. And wrote the opening riff and put together the other pieces of it and rearranged the whole thing. And lo and behold, right, just kind of hit and went on a couple commercials. And it's a pretty amazing. I just looked on Spotify. Just on Spotify, it has almost 11 million
Yeah.
hits.
So
Just
awesome.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, this song alone made over 1,000,000. It was kind of insane. Now you gotta share it with a bunch of people, but it was pretty cool, and during the pandemic when we were kinda like not shutting down the biz, but everyone was figuring things out, I turned to my husband because we were still getting residuals. I was like, you know, "Just so you know, you're married to a rock and roll musician right
Right.
now,"
Rock's a
which
That's
is
bona
sweet.
fide rock star. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
fun, fun. So, claim to fame of fun things, but, deep into the business that we talk about and all the different, entrepreneur opportunities.
Awesome. Great
So, thanks
story.
for
Way to
asking
start
about
it
it.
off. Yeah. Also curious, like looking at your experience. So you're here, like, why did you originally decide that within the restaurant and kind of food portion of the hospitality industry, why and how did that attract you to be your focus? That's a hard life to live. It's long hours, thankless, and you have some angry customers who are upset about their food many times. Why did that? What was it about that that attracted you to that side of the industry?
It was 14. Well, first off, I grew up in a funeral, not in the funeral home, but the family business there is, 4th generation funeral directors, started in the late 1800s. And so
Fascinating.
hospitality was pretty much
Mhm,
thoroughly in my blood,
mhm,
which was kinda awesome. And I washing cars at 10 and, doing all that was to sort of be a part of business. And lo and behold, I was just itching. Down the street was the local Burger King. And I don't know what it was, but it was, so exciting to me that I had to get there. And I think it was the vibe and I think it was the energy. And at the time, I did like their fries better than McDonald's, although that probably flipped. And like, so I went in and it was really my first introduction to an element of community of people around my own age. I mean, I was 14, so I lied a little bit to get in there, but Cleveland, 80s, you were able to do what you needed to do. And that was a vibe that I loved. And then I moved over to coffee houses and I saw this great local purveyor at the mall. And I just kind of loved that these old guys and ladies were sitting around kibitzing and there was this community that was built in this coffee house. And so I went in and started to really get into flavors and the roasting and how we can, talk to people. What do they want? And just it really was this community center. And that built, and, then I went to college, got a degree in psychology, which was awesome, which really helps my love of people and management, and as you say, unhappy customers and whatnot. And over the years, I was able to actually, as I mentioned, be a professional musician. I mean, I was fortunate enough that for my 20s, a good portion of them, I mean, music paid the bills, but I just missed the vibe of a restaurant. I love it. And I jumped back into steakhouses in New York City and just took off from there. I mean, right? What don't you, I mean, to me, I'm far more excited to go to the vibe of that than maybe to a rock show today of any kind. It's
Mhm.
electric. There's food. I mean, if you're a wine drinker, I love the senses, everything that it's activating. Even as I don't like loud situations as much as I used to because of years of rock and roll and banging on
Yeah.
trash cans, you know, there's the vibe, and that's really what it is. And the other thing I'll turn it over quickly or follow up on is this kind of like responsibility to the community to, somebody took me under their wing when I was a punk teenager and helped me feel like I belonged to something. And in turn, I've always felt that responsibility and opportunity that somebody's coming here to be a part of something and it's a time to grow. And I love that because that's a pay it forward moment. How do we impact and affect the community we want to engage with? Well, get involved and that and restaurants do that, which I love.
I love that. Okay, I have a couple follow-up questions. How come we have never talked about Cleveland before? Where in Cleveland?
I was
I
gonna
didn't
ask
wanna
that.
interrupt you, but I was like, "Geez Louise, where in Cleveland?" is first question.
Beechwood, but Cleveland Heights was where, Cedar
Ah,
Center was where the Burger King was.
and was there that the Caribou Coffee was there too, no? Or no, what was
Caribou Coffee came in a little bit later, and then,
Oh, I love that area.
yeah, when they rebuilt it, and then there used to be, Corky and Lenny's, and it was just kinda this old shticky. It's right, Cleveland, so there you go.
Cleveland. You know, I'm from Cleveland. I don't know if you know. I'm from Cleveland.
It's like it's coming. Like I'm like,
Look
did you
at
say
us
something once? And I
here.
wanted to. I mean, I'm assuming, right? What
Yeah,
part for you?
I grew up on the West Side. I grew up in North Royalton. But
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I've been in San Diego 23 years now. But my I was this like cheerleader who was popular, who also like I didn't fit in with who I should have fit in with. I loved going to the independent movies. I loved the weird little art festivals, but nobody that I hung with wanted to do any of that. So I would go to Coventry. I would go to
I
Cleveland
was gonna
Heights.
say Coventry.
That was, like, right by where you live. That was, like, my
Yeah.
escape from, like,
Yeah.
the cool stuff of high school. I was, like, there by myself, like, watching going to the Cedar Lee
Yeah.
Cinema and all that stuff. So, oh, that's so cool. We might have crossed paths at some point.
Possibly, right?
Small world.
Coventry was
Yeah.
such this cool little incubator, and
Yeah.
right, the Cedar Lee and whatnot, where you had if there was a Rocky Horror Picture Show, they were showing late night,
Midnight,
or
yeah.
Arabica Coffee House. That's Arabica, and right, and the ice smoker that
Arabica.
they had, and that's
Mhm.
where I learned three chords on the guitar, but still went and played open mic, and
Oh my god, I went to all the open mics and the poetry slams. Did you go to the poetry
yeah,
slams?
yeah,
Oh
of
my gosh.
course,
In a
yeah,
past life, we might have known each other. You never
we
know.
might have. That's
I
That's so
love
fine.
rad.
it.
That's totally
Well, I
Mm,
love your intention about giving back to the hospitality community because I think we're at a phase in the hospitality industry where it's really hard to recruit and retain great talent. It's really hard to tell people come to us. But once we get them here, what
yeah.
are we doing to keep them here? And I love your mindset about that, right? How are you giving back the way that people gave to you? So I want to ask you with that because I think in your company, in Arrow Up, you deal with some things that are important issues in the
Okay.
hospitality industry, but issues nobody wants to touch. So can you just talk a little bit about Arrow Up and what you do with sexual harassment training, with leadership training, with some of those really hot topics that are really necessary in the hospitality industry?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I'm a long time, I guess the arc in the middle was when I got really serious into restaurants. Um, I was waiting tables, and then a buddy of mine who's a director of ops was just like, "What are you doing? Like, let's go. It's time to jump to the next level." And I got into management and quickly started to evolve and became a general manager and really just put my focus there. Then worked with Umami Burger, a great national chain, and scaled them from 5 to almost 20 locations. And started to work with a lot of different operators. And then Tokai Organica took them from 2 to 17 and really became the COO and somebody who worked my way up. And really the only way I was working my way up was because I was upset. I wanted to get things done. And I thought the people above me weren't moving as fast as I wanted to. And to see how it was all connected. And so quite honestly, not in a sense of like survivor or anything like that. I just was very transparent about it's a holistic system. It all needs to connect and communicate, and they're all connected to each other. And so I would work my way up into operations to make sure everybody was held accountable from the bottom up to the top, side to side. And then I'd always had this, love of training. And when I would go into a new place, even my last job as a chief operating officer, um, I said, "Don't talk to me for a month." And I did the same thing with Umami in a couple different places. I am just going to lock myself in and build a training program. And I'm not a COO, I'm not a VP, I'm not whatever you need me to be right now. I'm just documenting it. And it works because the second, if you don't take time to be proactive, you're just going to constantly be reactive.
Mhm.
And I've always had this love of putting this together. And then after we secured some new investment and was able to grow, I'm great to get you to 20. I'm not the guy to get you past that in locations. So I said, okay, it's time to build this company. And I'm going to start with anti-harassment training. And the reason is this: it was becoming mandatory, but I had always in California, even before it was mandatory or anywhere, I had always rolled this out for all of my companies. I just thought it
Mm.
was something that you did, set the baseline. I was doing it from the start. But it was awful. There were cheesy reenactments, they had no value. So it was more of a cover your ass than really drive culture.
Mhm.
And I just started to see this opportunity, and you know the book that I wrote, right?
Mhm.
Please Don't Sleep with the Host, and
Mhm.
49 other tips of, as we're both published authors, sales tales,
Mhm. Yep. So
and
is
Amani
Imani.
out of
Imani's got a good book
Mani. I was
too,
going to
yeah.
say, I know, right, right, an
Right there.
author as well, and working on, yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so what that taught me was, and I'd written it pre Me Too, but I held on to it. Because I was worried and I tried to come up with all these other titles. But the book in nature was just a conversation about us on the industry having real talk, right? Two people having a shift drink, talking about what's going on. And I tried to come up with all these other titles. And then I just was like, but that's fake. This is authentic. If you get it, you get it. The game within the game, as our friend, as we say with Sean Walchef
Mhm.
and all that. And I put it out there, and the response was incredible because people got the intention and the conversation behind it. And I said, we can do the same thing with the anti-harassment training. Let's create a real authentic course that gets blurry, talks about the gray area, um, isn't so black and white, isn't cheesy, having real conversations, and isn't all like, you can't, you can't. It's like, well, what about this? Because I liked hugging or what about the, it's gray
Mm.
area, and we're all weird in this business. Um, and so we found a way to create something that had color and authenticity and communicate the way we all talk. And my creative director and partner is worked for commercials, and he's my favorite. He's just my favorite artist. Together, we put this awesome course together, and it worked.
Mm.
And people
Awesome.
started to capture it, and so much so that Jack in the Box licensed it, and I realized they were like, it might be a little. We might need to make it more conservative for our franchises.
Mhm.
But at the same time, Joe and the Juice, an international brand, was like, "Don't change a thing."
Yeah.
So that was kind of the impetus of it, and at the heart of it was, my favorite thing, which is, do I belong? How do I feel here? How am I being treated? What's my responsibility in the role, right? Sometimes you just got to step up and learn some of these things maybe that you didn't learn on the playground, and really, and that grows into safety, and that grows into culture. So it was the foundation for all that's coming, actually, which is everything I'm excited by.
So I
So
have
awesome.
some follow-up questions for you. As a fellow published author, first we'll stick with the book, then I want to ask you about the process. What are maybe 4 or 5 of the most popular tips that you give in the book that you can share with us?
Let's see, I haven't read it for a little bit. First one, I think, which is great, is change your socks mid shift. If you are working
Really?
a double, if you are working a double, bring a two pairs of socks
I
and
love
change
it.
them mid shift,
Great tip.
mid shift. So you don't
Great
Why?
touch
tip.
them.
Why?
And it just, when you, and it was something I think from years ago, or maybe it was like Platoon or some movie that I had seen where they really talked about the power of the socks in the jungle and
Yes.
army, and
Mhm.
how that affects you, and your feet are your foundation. So
Yes.
I would do it, and I would bring socks in for other people that they knew they could come to me if they didn't have a second pair and they ended up realizing they had to work later than they wanted. And they would come in. Sometimes we would do a little ritual. I would have everybody sit down, take the socks off, sit for a second,
Mm. Good
chill
stuff.
for a second, find that moment, think of yourself, got your feet in the sand. Okay, let's get up and go. And so that was one.
Okay.
Um, Another one is teaching how the expo and the host stand are really connected, and how you really, if you want to be somebody that understands the floor, you need to know where the tickets are in the line and where they are at the door, and make sure that they're talking to each other. And you need to be the person that relays everything. And it gets better with technology, but still, to know that what's coming in the expectation and what's going out, um, are connected, and keep, I'm the guy. How many menus I would walk into the kitchen, right? How many menus are down? And I would walk into the expo. How many tickets are on the line? Or sorry, I'd walk into the host stand. How many tickets are on the line? Um, Another one, your expo, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're the owner or the chief operating officer going in, the most powerful person when you walk into the kitchen is the expo or whoever is controlling that. Do not start coming in talking, coming around the corner. Hey, where's the chicken on? Shut, it's the how you are going to knock the thing out of line is insane. So your ego is gone the second you would come in the door. And they would see that with me, right? I mean, coming in, I'd stand there and wait. Um, and so here's one other one that I'll tell you then, final one to end with. Sometimes the train goes off the tracks.
Ain't that the
And
truth?
sometimes there's just, not to speak like a California hippie, but it's just bigger than we are. Sometimes our game is off. You talk to any sports team, you talk to any band, right? You go out there, you play a gig. Sometimes the energy is not in your favor. And what you got to do is, I look at it like in tennis, that second hit every ball like it's that second serve. The first one you're driving. If you don't get it over the net, that second one you take it a little more with more caution and careful. Well, assume that every first ball is not going to go over the net. So every play, and just sometimes the train goes off the track. So let's be calm. Let's bring it back. Let's recognize it's bigger than us. And now let's play with caution, not defense. We're not throwing so many 3-pointers thinking we're in the pocket tonight.
Okay.
There you
Excellent.
go.
Love it. Well done. Now, follow question about the book
Fun.
is that as a published author, many people have like books they want to write. They maybe even write down an outline, but they can never complete it. It's always kind of still there, kind of on the cutting room floor, so to speak, to borrow a film analogy. What was maybe some lessons you learned when you went through the book writing and publishing process?
I love it. So there's a couple things. One is perspiration over inspiration, and that is above all, right? That's it. Get up and write. We just went to the Hemingway Museum. Every day it's a job. You punch in, whether he gets 4 words on the typewriter or not, he punched in every day. So it's showing up. My bandmate in the High Strung. So if you're listening, go check out the High Strung. We got a new album, Address Unknown. So my bandmate is he's a successful writer. He wrote Bird Box, which if anyone knows, right, and was on Netflix too. And Mallory, and
That's
he's really
super
big
cool.
yeah. So he's really big in the horror scene, really successful writer. And he's one of the most prolific writers I've known. And he's written, I think to date, 38 books. And he said, look, I'm a full-time writer. And if I actually just sit and write 4 hours a day, I'm publishing more than the majority of, I'm outpacing everybody.
Yes.
And he
Truth.
goes, and you look at this, I wrote a 1,000-page book and a 200-page book and this, and he goes, it's just sitting there for 4 hours a day. And you're working 8 hours a day at what you're doing. I'm sitting here 4 hours a day and it's working. So it's about showing up. And it's also about letting, to me, the editing process be the editing process. Get as much as you can down while you can. So it's 2 things there. One is, even if you don't feel it, show up and write. But when you're feeling it, keep writing. And
Yeah.
those are some tips. And then don't be afraid. And look, with ChatGPT, it's changing the whole editing process. But don't be afraid. Get ready to have your words beaten up a little bit.
Oh, yes. Oh,
He said to me, everybody, if you're trying to write something right now, go read a sentence. Probably the number one thing that you will change, and he taught me this, Josh Mallerman, is changing it from a passive sentence to an active sentence. I was thinking about I want to go to, you'll see, you'll take a 400-page book and drop it down to 300 words, 400 words to 300, whatever that is, pages quickly. So there's these little tricks. And I'm in the middle of writing my new book.
Yeah. So what's your new book
so-
about?
Talk to us.
Sorry, not to hold court, but I'm in the middle of doing
I
this
mean,
right
this
now with
is
the
the whole
timeline.
purpose of being here is for you to hold court. We might put your crown on. We
Yes.
want you to hold court.
Old court. We are just your subjects for the moment.
Yes.
Because I'm in the middle of it now with my new book, um, and giving myself the same push, which is so the new book is We're All a Little Fucked Up, and whether or not I keep the swear word, I'm working on this, but it's basically the idea of well, I'll tell you what, right? Chapter one. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will screw me up for life. Surviving the
Mm.
playground. And it's the
Mm.
idea that if we understand that we're all a little fucked up, then we disarm this expectation that everybody's perfect. And we disarm, can I believe, well, you know what? That person that's honking that you're honking at because you can't believe they slowed down looking for an address, that was probably you yesterday, the other person.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
And if we disarm this expectation, then I actually think we can kind of come back together in community. And that's my sort of find common ground, come back to the dinner table and have conversations and empathy and really giving that space. I really love that. That's the core of everything I'm doing in business and books is disarming the expectation and let human we all have our accountability. You have to be held accountable. And if you ask me my mantra, it's show up. I mean, you got to show up. And sometimes showing up means you literally can't make it, but you made the conversation, you made the call, you took care of business, you communicated. So to me, with that understanding, it's about really recognizing that we're all a little weird and we got to work through these things together. We got to dial it back a bit. So I'm excited for it. Amani.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. That yes, yes. How do you manage your time between your professional life and then writing a book?
I think about it, it's about managing your energy and understanding where your energy is and then protecting that and building around that. So I really don't take meetings before 11 in the morning. The only person I talk to is once or twice a week, Mandy with I and the right digital hospitality on Clubhouse, Wednesdays and Fridays, 10 a.m. Pacific time.
PST, PST.
PST, I really protect that time to write in the morning.
Mm.
Um, I'm a contributing writer for Nation's Restaurant News. Um, I've set some responsibilities and expectations. So I'm most creative from 6:30 in the morning till 10:30. So that's the time for me. And then you work to the business and you really save the end of the day for things that you can sort of push through, even if you're like at 4 o'clock. I could have moon boots on my feet. It's just about showing up and getting it done. That's kind of how you do it. So manage your energy.
Mm.
That's the trick.
I have a question about staying relevant. So, you have these great clients. You have Jack in the Box and Joe and the Juice, and they've cycled through a couple different courses with you, right? And their employees have seen it. So, how do you stay fresh with new curriculum? How are you offering that to your customers? Are they re-upping? Are they going somewhere else for something new? Like what does that rotation look like?
It's about we built everything to be pretty modular so that we can sub some things out and drop some things in California, let's say for anti-racism, you take it every 2 years, so a lot of it fades away. So we want to just change out particular things, colors, pops, and then we're constantly interviewing. So if I magic, if I capture it or we capture it as a team, we'll drop it in. On the leadership development, the same thing. So we'll interview, we'll work with different people. If we capture magic, we drop it in, and then now we're going to start to grow our course catalogs. And we've been asked by a lot of people to build out our marketplace, but I've held off because we've been really core source of business has been custom content from everything from the city of Santa Monica to telehealth businesses to restaurants to cashiers. So we have a good core business and we're going to continue that. But in all honesty, we're really, really, or and in all honesty, we're really moving towards micro training. And with this new toolkit we're launched, the idea is, and where you have safety as the foundation, we'll cover your foundation courses, but relevancy becomes the constant general pressure every week, every month. You're getting a nugget that matters that you can take back to your team or that you need to do as a team member. And so we're going to keep the foundation the foundation. We'll tweak them, we'll update them. They're coming back to us to answer that question, right? Because they see it. Um, and we're excited to say, great, you've got us for foundation, but really join our micro training revolution.
I love
That's
that. Yeah, I love that because like so much information at one time is too much, especially
Mhm.
with who's coming into the marketplace in our work world. So I
Yeah,
love the micro training. Okay. Safety sexy. Can you tell us how you make safety sexy
yeah,
and
yeah,
what is InsurTech? I think these two are related, but if not,
sure.
and then
Um,
Omani, I'll back off. I'll back off then.
no, it's great, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is, so we cover safety, and the idea was OSHA in a box. And what's really happening, what's interesting is, you know, a lot of people through the pandemic, we realized safety became a concern. Um, a lot of people want to be compliant, but they can't. There's a lot of lawsuits going around, people who are coming up on this. And then you have employees that don't feel safe. So it's less about the OSHA violations and more about what they represent and the fact that it's the actual employees that are saying something or the lawyers that are coming through. And we looked at it and we said, well, actually, in fact, there's so much money being left on the table because for every injury you have, for every dollar you spend directly, you lose $4 in indirect costs to a restaurant. Overtime, product loss, these things that really move the needle. Your XMOD score, which is a score you get when for injuries. So it's a percentage. You can pay anywhere from 1.5 to 7% on top of every $100 payroll. I mean, think about that. Or let's say 2.5 to 7. That's the difference of you paying 2.5 bucks for every $100 or $7.5. I
Mhm.
mean, that's just per every 100. I mean, we're talking about real money.
Mhm.
So you've got this going on, and you have a lot of great restaurants that want to do right, but don't know how to do it. So I said, you know what? We actually can make an incredible platform that feels like Apple TV Plus, which is what it does. So that's sexy number one. The UX, the UI, the interface, it's just like getting on Apple TV. You got beautiful thumbnails, GIFs, rotating memes, these things that are just really landing and have high design. Then in the courses, we make it really funny and modular and meme based and GIF based and really, really, really high design. So we've really taken a real design first approach. Then what we do is we really are giving everybody in this toolkit checklists to stay safe, but ways that are sort of the way that we talk to each other and communicate. You understand the why, forms that need to be filled out, but really, in addition, training that gets people to understand how to communicate with each other, how to de-escalate, how to handle a moment. Well, now you're taking care of how people feel. So that's pretty sexy
Yeah.
because you're paying attention to people and you're making people feel inclusive. And it's not a check the box thing, right? And in all honesty, we didn't dive right into DEI and we didn't dive right into all of these courses that people were screaming for. You got to make it, you got to make it. Because it was just such a check the box. We weren't right, we weren't ready, but it's such an important thing that we needed to get experts and get conversations, and we're starting to get into it only because there are people who you want to listen to, not me, right? And different people. And look, it was great when we got into sexual orientation and different things like that. I interviewed my husband, right?
Mhm.
And so we got into those things. It was something relatable. So it was about how do we attract honest, genuine, authentic conversations? That's sexy. So it's the design, it's the content. in the end, that's culture. Safety is the baseline. It's the Trojan horse for building a better, healthier culture because actually, if you have training and checklists and forms, then you have structure. And you have structure, you have organized environments. And how do you now you are helping retention because organized people want to work for organized environments. I stay at a place where they're organized. Lars, my husband, as well. I mean,
Mhm.
so we're helping them with this. And we're building all of this together using safety as the foundation. But that's just saying you got to do this. Well, now that you came, that's the Trojan horse. We're going to fold in all of these fun and engaging and effective little things on top of it, micro trainings, techniques, checklists. That becomes InsurTech because what InsurTech is you had EdTech, which is educational tech evolution. You had FinTech, the financial evolution.
Mhm.
And InsurTech is how do you simplify the buying process? How do you strengthen the bond? And how do you create more effective underwriting? Which is at the end of the day, how, to get a your premiums, your insurance broker has to basically try to petition you going to college,
Mhm.
all of these things. So the industry is moving that way to try to simplify it. Well, I'm saying, okay, I know if they're training right. I know if they're being safe. I know if they're doing the checklists. I know if people are showing up. I know if they're delivering information that creates an inclusive environment authentically that we care about. I know if they're participating in the conversation. Well, in general, they're a better, um, they're less of a risk and a better bet that you want to insure them. And we're able to take that data and that engagement. And now we're partnering with insurance companies to say, if you want to play ball, they want to play ball. Let's actually get you together because the insurance companies, we think that they just want to keep raising premiums. They don't. They just want to stop spending money on things that were avoidable. And so I'm coming in the middle being like, well, I know how to drive human behavior. We know how to track it. We're partnering with the companies that see that they want to have buy-in and make sure that we're all rowing in the same direction. And so I'm coming at it from two approaches. Get the restaurants on board, get the insurance companies on board, and then as we start to bridge the gap together.
Man, that is genius. I love that. And people want to feel safe in their working environment, whether that's physically, spiritually, emotionally, scheduling, whatever. So, and you get that. Like
Yeah.
you totally get it. It's like a Jason Berkowitz official certification program. Like, like
It
if you are certified by Jason, then you can be insured. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
I appreciate it, and it's funny, I looked at when I set out, I said, "How do I scale me?" And I said,
Yeah.
in a respectful sense, and now it's bringing together other people. But here's what I'm really excited about. I've been really focused on, safety. Here we go, right? We solve a very specific problem. It works for larger carriers, or it works for larger companies, multi-unit operators. We're coming in and we're solving this, and we're a sliver in your tech. Truthfully, you're finding me in a bit of a not a transformational moment, but a bit of an interesting moment coming back from the restaurant show last week in
Mhm.
Chicago, where everyone was talking about enterprise versus mom and pop. And I've got my core focus and I'm going to stick to it. But I realized that as I built this platform, which is basically, as I said, it's a communication platform like Apple TV Plus to whatever role you are. Well, why can't I really go out and help the mom and pops more? I'm part of the Independent Hospitality Coalition in Los Angeles. We have 1,200 members in independent restaurants. I donate my time to so many different restaurants for consulting. I've opened up a bunch of places. I opened up Gucci's first restaurant in the United States. They came to me and I built their training program. I've got these things. And I said, how do I not lose focus, right? I'm going to New York next week, InsurTech, continue the partnerships with some of these great insurance companies, continue the partnerships with the restaurant groups, continue to roll out our bread and butter, which is courses. But what if I really connect every single small business in California starting with and grow? And you both let's do this, and Mandy, and right, San Diego, is how do I connect every small business, get them on the platform, and then we can drop in the information depending on what if you're an owner, great. If you're working on sales and catering and whatnot, Mandy's dropping in for you. If you're a safety lead, here's your course. If you're a supervisor, here's our resident employment attorney who's going to give you the tip to remind you in story base what you need to do this week to make sure that not uh, you're not exposing the company. For instance, there's a lawsuit going around. These ambulance chasers are going after these little mom and pop shops for $35 to $60,000 a pop. One of them was, "Hey, they asked him, are any of you punching out and while you're waiting for your tips, you're sitting there?" "Yeah." "Well, we all used to do this." "No, that's a violation. You get a lawsuit. You need to either get them out of the building or keep them on the clock." Well, there was no malintent. It was just
Mhm.
kind of how we did it.
Mhm.
So let's take that story. Let's drop that into the 21-year-old supervisor who's left to close up and is closing people out at night. How do they get this information? Well, now we've got marketing, business, compliance, legal, safety, how I feel. All of this is just now creating content so that we can really support every small business in California and really keep Main Street open, which is, again, going back to what I said at the beginning. What did I love about working in restaurants? What I learned, the responsibility, how we all work together, how I learned to play well with each other. So you're finding me in a moment right now where I'm like, son of a bitch, I actually can do more than I even thought I could. And we got safety, but shit, we can literally go out there and help so many of these independent restaurants, which is my love. And I'm not going to turn down the enterprise. Come on, this is great. Maybe it's a Tom's 1 for 1. You pay this and they get this for a discount. That'll all figure itself out.
Mm.
It's just,
You're
it's there.
yeah, you're evolving the enterprise. You're part yeah, that's pretty rad.
Now, you just came back from the restaurant show. You're a veteran of like, the restaurant industry, but one of the biggest issues, I'm sure you've heard about it, maybe you've written about it, is just properly staffing all these restaurants post-pandemic, particularly where it's so hard to find and keep good people. What are your thoughts on that? What can we do as an industry to improve it? What do you think?
I think technology is here. I think we need to embrace where it can be efficient. I think there are things like ordering kiosks and other things that you create somewhat of an omni opportunity for people who don't want to order with a cashier. They can or they can't. So I think it's about leveraging the efficiencies of technology. I think there's some great tools in knowing where you stand in the guest experience. And so you've got that. So what we're talking about is removing some of the friction. I think it's leveraging some of the tech that is out there that I'm even doing or scheduling, which answers the two most important things that every employee wants to know. There's only two things we got to answer. What's my job? How am I doing? And so, what's my job? We're getting better at tech to roll that out. We're minimizing some of the grunt work through technology. And we've got to get a little bit better at the how I'm doing feedback. And part of that is another thing we're really working on again, and I'll come back to this in our leadership development, is really working with the supervisors to know how to um, build relationship with their team members. I mean, we interviewed 18-year-olds to 60 to 70-year-olds, and they all said the same thing: build a relationship. And so, if 70% of the people quit, managers, not jobs, well, we're really working on the empathetic tools to support that. So it's all of that now coming back to that's a bit of the restaurant show and a bit of what we're working on. I do fall under the category of, if you're a good operator and you're working with your teams and you're paying and you're organized and you're not in some extremely remote area, you've pretty much been able to refill your staff. And I think For some people, there's the outliers, and somebody could be listening to this and being like, I'm a good operator, I'm doing everything, and it's not working.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not working. But I can tell you a couple things. One is there are those that are struggling still, and a lot of that is in them.
Mm,
And it is. It just is. And maybe we can help them in with scalable tools, but there's that. And there's just sort of a look in the mirror. You know, there's a lot of people who are still not I'm careful to not use the word victim in that sense, but things are happening to them consistently and they need to take a little bit more control of that. And that's showing up. And then there's businesses that are still open that due to rent moratoriums and things like that, that need to just close. And they're not going to make their payment to their landlords. And because they're struggling with that, they're not able to reinvest in their business, which means they've got employees working on outdated stuff and the corners are dirty and they haven't re-upped on the mats that they're standing on. And you just feel this disconnect. That's another problem. I think the responsibility again, some places are hard and a lot of people shifted, but a lot of people are coming back now to restaurants
Yeah.
because their entrepreneur gig didn't work or their other thing didn't work. And restaurants got to be prepared to take them. And that's a little bit of hard love. Um,
yeah.
but that's what I believe. That's my experience.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Now we are to the part of the show where we flip the script. We let you ask both Mandy and myself a question and we answer it. So, whom would you like to answer the question first?
I'm going to flip this around. Can I change the form?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
for
Yes. We are
sure.
very malleable, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to do rapid fire questions.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Let's
fun.
go.
Very simple ones.
Okay.
Yes.
5 each, very simple, very quick. Don't think about it. Mandy, you're first.
Okay. Ready.
Coke or
Ready.
Coke or Pepsi?
Ooh, Pepsi, but I don't like soda, but Pepsi if I was forced to.
In-N-Out or Shake Shack?
In and out.
Cobb salad or chop salad?
Chop salad.
New York style pizza or Detroit style pizza?
New York style pizza.
Hummus or salsa?
Hummus always, but with no additives.
With no additives.
No citric acid in my hummus. Just
Yes.
some good chickpeas.
I like it. No citric acid, just chickpeas. We got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That was good. Good
that was
answers.
fun. Good
And I
job.
appreciate no soda. And what's funny is I'm a water drinker, but man, the Coke installation at the NRA was so good. I just kept going back, and I was like, "This is a cheat week. I get to do this. I need energy. It's supplying what I need." And the guy
Yes.
that I was walking with was like, "Really? You're going back? Don't judge.
Again? With your
No
tumbler?
judgment."
Do you call it pop? Do you
Um,
call it pop or soda?
Soda because we're
Oh,
just pop's a little bit more East Coast, right?
Yeah. Midwest.
yeah. Pop's very
Midwest.
Cleveland. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right, Amani, you ready?
I'm ready.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Reese's or Snickers?
Snickers, although I really like Kit Kat, but go ahead.
Okay. Funny, I was gonna put Reese's or Kit Kat, but I was
Kit
like, that
Kat,
doesn't feel
yes.
right. I actually changed it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Technique
wow.
1200s or digital turntables like a Pioneer?
Technique 1200s. I got a pair right behind me.
Yeah, I got a pair too. I got one out and then one in the closet from years ago.
All right.
September or Hypnotize? Which is your song to get a dance floor moving? September from Cool and the Gang, Hypnotize from Biggie.
September from Earth, Wind, and Fire. Not Cool in the
Earth,
Game,
Wind,
right?
and Fire. What'd I say? Cool and the Gang,
Okay.
Earth, Wind, and
Yeah.
Fire.
I'm going. Oh, Hypnotize, Biggie. We'll go with the Hypnotize, Biggie.
It's my friend turned me on to it. He's like, "You want to see me move a dance floor?" And it
Yeah.
just every time.
Yeah.
Closing finale: Mariah Carey's Rainbow or Glitter?
Rainbow. Well,
There
glitter
it
was
is.
unfortunate. As you see, Mariah, where's Mariah? Mariah's right there.
I
As you
know.
see her there.
Yep.
Yes, glitter was unfortunate. There were some good songs from there, but Rainbow, Mariah's got me through many a time. So yes, great questions.
That was fun. We haven't had a guest do a
Yeah.
flash fire round yet. That was awesome. I love that. That was
Yeah.
Good
great.
stuff.
Thank you.
Fun
Yeah.
time.
Love the prep
Yeah.
too. Love the prep too. Mandy, what are some of our well, I can go with my favorite questions if you wanna go that way now,
Yeah,
do we wanna go that way?
you go with your favorite questions, but as a lead into your favorite question,
Yes. Yes.
I want Jason to talk about his accidental business book club that he's starting or it's happening or it's tell us about this. This is super
Well,
fun.
it's so what's funny is it was originally I don't know if it's a business book club, and I think I might have to do 2 because it started off with, Rick Rubin, right? And I saw that
Ugh,
you got into him, right? And it was the
yeah.
creativity. Then it went into Unreasonable Hospitality,
Mhm.
and which got into that. I know Sales Tales come down the pipeline, and I might have to do 2, but here's what was funny was I just did a post, a fun little video that I've been making that, I've been getting into that and getting out there more. And I just said for Burko's Book Club, and it was like, boom, all these people just start, what's next? Oh my God, we have a book club. Let's go in. Let's get this thing going. And so I, I'm on the fence if I do too. I would love your thoughts on this. Here's something. I know that all roads lead for this to me to my book, right? And my book falls into the self-betterment. I don't know what the category is right now, but I know that I don't want well, we'll play a couple shows and my band plays a couple shows live and it's great. But I'm really excited. I've kind of like recently realized that let's say 5 years from now or whatnot, if I can fill up a 200 seat venue in a town, whatever the mathematics ends up being, right? We put the pro forma together. I'm a pro forma junkie. You put it together. If I can solve and know where we go, that if I can get the book out, that gets the speech, that gets the in person conversations, or just moment that they come out and I fill those seats, that I'm able to then go on a lovely little tour, see America, dine in some great restaurants, travel with my husband. This is the path. So I'm actually thinking if it's business or working towards my book, right? We're all a little fucked up, is getting the books that will get to ultimately sell books for me and fill the seats. So what are your thoughts?
I mean, why don't I first of all, I see no right reason why you can't do this because those are all intertwined. I believe in niching down. And if you try to be all things to all people, it doesn't
Right.
always work out, especially if you're hosting an event, 200 people or 1,000 people. You have to remember too, a lot of those people are just going to come because they like you as a person and they'll just eat anything you're feeding them, right? So, I don't know if it's business book or regular book, but I like the idea. And I think Amani and I will support you and be a part of it as much as
Yes.
possible. I love that. That's
Mhm.
super rad.
Yeah.
And Sean would say probably again, Sean Walchef, our friend, would say, "Well, just start, and you'll figure
Mhm,
out
mhm. That sounds
what
like
people are
fun.
going to want
Yeah.
or not want." And it's interesting. It's so true, right? You don't know what's going to resonate. I would have never thought that it would resonate the way it resonated. I would have never thought my was a throwaway line last year on our morning clubhouse where I said, "But what if it all works out?"
Hmm.
Where everyone was stressing, and I just said, "But what if it all works out?"
Hmm.
I said that to my cousin. I said that maybe to 3 people, and they have repeated it back to me time it was a throwaway line for me. So, maybe it's just no matter what the answer is, but you're right, you have to niche down, but maybe it's a larger funnel that you find what the activation is, and you keep going down a little bit more, and then it starts to build, and I guess just like anything, right? If I look at it like a menu, people would say to me, "Oh my god, you scaled Umami Burger. You have to help me launch this idea." And I'm like, I didn't start Umami Burger.
Hmm.
There was something that was hot, and I knew how to put, fuel behind it and how to grow something. In the day of the algorithm, things can pop, and then we'll push on that.
Yeah, maybe
I'm
it's a
having fun with
Burko
that one.
brand. Burko brand, just you as a human, people gravitating towards that. That could be
It's what I'm
special.
working towards. Yeah, we'll talk more about that a little bit offline. It's all coming to light, and truthfully, Mandy, is the thing that I'm working towards more than any, and maybe this is even leading a little bit into Amani, what you'd be getting into in favorite questions I know of, is putting myself out there more first and foremost, and then being able to put myself out there more in a sales position, being able to put myself out there more to ask things of people,
Mhm.
right? To ask for the sale, being able to get uncomfortable being uncomfortable, um, and not worrying about going overboard, right? But dialing it a little bit more. And I think this all ties in, and really it's where I think this clubhouse group is has been extremely helpful too, because it really is a safe zone where you can talk about things, we're still held accountable to show up and do stuff. And Amani, not to a bunch, but a professor, publish, you're doing a lot, you've got this, you're going. What I know of Mandy, right? She's putting out the book. She's that website. Both your websites are incredible, but
Thank you.
really the conferences and all, and just the hustle is real,
Yeah.
right? And so the hustle is real. Then it's about putting yourself in front of it and allowing your brand to grow and ask for things along the way of what you're
Mm.
looking for. And truthfully, Mandy, that's something that I'm really working through right now.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting.
Just ask.
Yeah,
People surprise you. They'll show up.
this
People will
is
show
true.
up. Yeah.
This is true. Now, if we're gonna go back to, let's see here, Michigan State. Michigan State is it's in what city is
East
Michigan State
Lansing.
in? East
It's East
Lansing.
Lansing. Yeah.
East Lansing. Yes, I didn't want to say the AA word, so I know it wasn't there.
I almost said Ypsilanti on
You
accident,
know,
which was
East
not
Lansing.
Eastern.
accurate. Yeah.
Well,
East
the
Lansing.
joke of Ann Arbor and University of Michigan is growing up in Ohio where we're Buckeyes, we know that the real rivalry was Ohio State and University of Michigan. And Michigan State are just these fleas on the back of Michigan, or obviously they become great contenders over the years. But as a Michigan State person, I'm like, we're not U of M's rival. Their rival is Ohio State.
Yes.
We can try to pretend we're their rival, but we're
Right.
really kind of not. And pass the beer.
Now, if we're
Two
gonna go
natural
back
lights. Yeah.
as you are
Yeah.
graduating from Michigan State and give young Jason advice based on what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
Um, Creating something is only 50% of it, and is not enough. And you need to get it out there and market it and put it out there and take it further. Um, and I was really good. If I started a project, I finished a project. What I wasn't great at, my garage is still filled with inventions. Um, you know, Great inventions that you need to see it through and take it across the finish line, down to a musical that I wrote years ago that literally Stephen Sondheim's right-hand man was like, "Can we please start to work?" Not Sondheim, but, like, on their side project. It's not like
Mhm.
Sondheim was taking it on, but, "No, I wrote it. What's next?" Right? "I'm done. Let's go do the next thing." And that's what I think has been really important for me with Arrow Up is, um, almost quite the opposite was when the pandemic hits and things shut down, it's really getting scrappy and figuring out how to navigate, because we don't use the word pivot anymore, I guess.
Yes, we're
And
over that word.
Pirouette. Yeah.
Yes, we're over that
yeah,
word.
pirouette and and find a way to actually keep it alive and keep going, which was great. So that's what I would tell my younger
Mhm.
self. Definitely.
Well done. Mandy, over to you for a final question.
Okay, I have a final question. This is going to be fun. So, we're going to put you in a position, Jason, to practice that thing that you're working on, which is asking for help and asking people for things. And I'm going to ask you, how can we support you? What do you need from us right now to help you grow and flourish and be the most productive and joyous person in the universe that you want to be?
Gotta go. Check, please. Uh, I would say, um, be somebody that I can come to you with my messages of what I'm delivering and help me know if they resonate. And then you know how to clearly communicate that to somebody else. So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, um, making insurance sexy, right? Which you loved, or safety sexy, or if I'm here to say a broadcast platform connecting every independent restaurant in Los Angeles. I would love to have the opportunity to continue to bounce this off, and then you both know how to take this and turn, and then sure, share it, right? Tell people, promote it, be a part of it. Help me figure out what that distillation is so that what we're building is landing to what people want to be buying at that moment. Is that I
You
think
got
that's
it.
good. It's a soft request, right? It didn't go too much of like, I need you to sell this thing, get online with me. No, this is an
You're
important
giving
piece.
us a quota. Here,
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah,
quota.
yeah, here's your
No,
quota.
yeah, here's your quota. Go get them, Tiger. No, this is great. I think that's very doable. We'd love to help you with that. So just,
Cool.
when if you want to pitch it down or you want to slim it out, you just let us know. We'll help you. We'd love to help you with that. It's a great ask.
And, and to say you're out of your mind here or whatnot, right?
Oh,
And
Mhm.
it and
we'll say
and
that. Yeah. We'll
yeah,
say that.
and I think with me, just right now, because it's really where I'm waking up in the morning, is all roads are leading towards, again, InsurTech. We're building it. I'm going to New York next week. Uh, The train does not move. There is not a squirrel, right, moment at all. But I'm gonna start building this content to see how it lands with the local operators. And so that would be something, jump in, help, advise, push back, say, don't quit your day job.
Okay.
But
All
send
right.
you contacts. Yeah. Yeah. We
Yes.
love that. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
No problem.
Right,
Well,
actually, context is great, yeah.
yes, yes. So, Jason, thank you very much for appearing on our show. We loved hearing all your stories, what you got going on, what you worked on in the past, hearing about the second book. So we're excited to support you. Thank you for asking. Also at the end, so well done. And we'll make sure to share all your contact information, how people can reach you, and just thanks again for being another tremendous guest for us.
I
Thank
appreciate being
you.
here and the opportunity. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was excited and Mandy to obviously to be able to geek out with you, obviously Amani, but putting the face but putting the face to face because we're on an audio app every week
Yeah,
together. So it's great
We
to just
there you go.
yep.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
So
join us.
thanks for
Join
having
us
me.
on Clubhouse Friday, 10 o'clock PST, where Jason and I are there almost every Friday. And Monty pops in every now and again. Join our crew. Join our little flash mob.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, round of applause for Jason here. Thank you.
Fast fingers.
All right. I'm going to stop recording now. So we'll stop recording.